Hello and welcome to Sattology, debunking mythology. Sattology means science of truth, or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. Everything that we say on our shows in Sattology, we are backed by a book, by a research, or by a publicly available information, which is validated through research of different campuses and other things. Do join us for the Lit Fest on August 25 if you are in the US. And if you're not in the US, I'll request all the members of Sattology, whether in Patreon or YouTube or Facebook, to forward our messages, send it to everybody you know so that they come and join us every week. This is a live show. You can ask me any questions on the topics that we present today, or even if the general topic is there, you can also ask. आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है सतोलॉजी में. सतोलॉजी मतलब साइंस ऑफ ट्रुथ, स्टडी ऑफ ट्रुथ. उसका विपरीत है माइथोलॉजी, जो मतलब झूठ या फिर काल्पनिक, नकली, उसकी पढ़ाई या उसका विज्ञान. So today's show is very interesting because in the US we are seeing many laws coming up in the California state and other states also, especially California more, SB 403 and other things, which is going on, and it is actually impacting the race relations in the US. And today US laws are making it impossible for religious freedom. So and I request everyone to keep your comments, keep your questions flowing so that I can answer them. But today's presentation is going to open your eyes like never before. And if you want to check out my books, you can search Sattology on Amazon. You can see my books. If you're in the US, you can buy from Barnes and Nobles and Goodreads and many other places. My books are available in the US. You can check it out. So let's begin today's show. Caste, the word caste. The word caste comes from Portuguese casta. It's a Latin root word which means a class or a hierarchy. It has nothing to do with India. It's a European Latin word which has nothing to do with India. And in India, the different word is used in Sanskrit called varna. Varna just means category. So varna is not caste. Caste is not varna. Two different things. Okay. So there has been never been any such discrimination by Indian scriptures or Hindu scriptures, Vedas, anywhere against anyone. In fact, in Kali Yuga it said, Janma Jayate Shudra. Everybody is born as Shudra, and then they are elevated through different procedures. Dvija. So anyone can become a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, because there are only four categories of human society: businessmen, teachers, middle class or workers. Middle class is workers, and the uh, warriors who protect, like police or armed forces. These are all warriors. Kshatriya, administrative class. There are only four classes, and that is found in every single continent, every single society of the world. No society, whether it's in Africa or USA or anyone, can exist without a varna. Varna means guna karma. Guna and karma, actions and qualities acquired by nature. That is varna. So it's an occupational classification. The word jati means the person where he has taken birth. That's it. Wherever person taken birth. So birth doesn't determine occupation. Birth doesn't determine the actions. Birth doesn't determine the qualities. So it is the other way around. So any person has a chance to go up as per their own karma, or go down as per their own karma. So with that, let's start with the system. Now, why do Europeans accuse India of caste system? Now, if you go into Google and search caste, the word caste, you will see they will say the word caste is usually associated with India. How? How can a Latin word be associated with India? That means it's a European narrative on India. That's how the colonization works. It's a colonial narrative to show Indians down. Why? Because the church or the Islamic culture was not able to conquer Hindus. That's the main reason. And I'm saying it unabashedly because the academics, European narratives, Western narratives, and combined with them some Islamic academics use the word caste to show Hindus down and to say Hindus have caste system. When they say India, they mean Hindus have a caste system. That's not true. Caste is a European classification, has nothing to do with India. Nothing. Not even, it's an education for most of the people in the Americas or the American university system also. The caste discrimination laws actually promote caste discrimination because they actually discriminate against the Hindus by unfairly targeting them without any historical basis. So, with that being said, let us go into the European caste system. And I'm going to share my screen with you. You can search it also. I'm like I said before, I work on the publicly available information, not propaganda, nothing. So people can see what is the European caste system. So if you can see my screen, those of you can see my screen, the thing has been highlighted now. So, in some European countries, these closed social classes or castes, so class or caste is the same word, English word, were given titles. जैसे मैं आपको हिंदी में बताऊं कि सोशल क्लास को और कास्ट एक ही मीनिंग होता है उसका, तो यूरोप में भी वो है. दे फॉलोड मोर कोड्स ऑफ बिहेवियर स्पेसिफिक टू देयर कास्ट एंड इवन डिस्टिंक्टिव क्लास. ये यूरोप का कास्ट सिस्टम है जो आज भी चलता है. एंड आई गिव यू एग्जांपल. इन द यूके पार्लियामेंट इट्स कॉल्ड हाउस ऑफ कॉमन्स. मतलब आम आदमी का जो पार्लियामेंट, संसद है ना, संसद वर्ड पार्लियामेंट नहीं होता. उसका इंग्लिश, मोस्ट ऑफ द संस्कृत वर्ड्स हैव नो इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन. सो द एवरीथिंग इज पुट बाय यूरोपियंस एज ए प्रोपेगेंडा. So especially British against Hindus. Now the I'm saying British, I mean to say that those academics and people who build narratives, media, academics, these are all build narratives. So so the in the European, in the UK Parliament is House of Commons and monarchy, class system. Today also, most of the nobility in UK has higher powers than other people. And when the nobility appoints people as knights, sir, and other titles, they are creating a caste system. So in UK, there are two castes, upper caste, lower caste, which is nobility and commoners. मतलब जो राज करने के, जो राज परिवारों से हैं, जो मोनार्की वाला परिवार है, वहां से व्यक्ति वो, और दूसरा आम आदमी, सेपरेट. ओके, ये यूरोप का कास्ट सिस्टम है. तो भारत में इंग्लिश का वर्ड कास्ट एप्लीकेबल नहीं होता. इसको मैं अपनी पुस्तकों में लिख चुका हूं. आई हैव रिटन इन माय बुक्स, इट इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल टू हिंदूज. द वर्ड कास्ट इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल टू हिंदूज. वर्ण इज. एंड जातिवाद is totally different. Jativada is political. Jativada has nothing to do with Veda. Jativada has nothing to do with Ramayana and Mahabharata. I'll give an example from Ramayana. Dashrath Maharaj called Shudra or other people and embraced them, and he was serving them with his own hands during the Putreshti Yagya of to invite Sri Ram. Rishi Shringa Muni was performing the tapasya, was performing the yagya, and he did that. Yudhishthir Maharaj, Yudhishthir Maharaj says personally, it doesn't, Varna doesn't matter. Anyone who can fight is a warrior. Is Yudhishthir Maharaj says. Yudhishthir Maharaj says that we understand a person's Varna by his behavior, guna, and karma. This is Yudhishthir Maharaj saying. So nowhere in Hindu scriptures, in Vedic scriptures, in Ramayana, Mahabharata, there is any type of caste system. Nowhere. In fact, it is free. A Raja is working with everybody, whosoever is has those skills actually. It's called Patritva, qualification. So anyone who has a qualification was easily regarded as a person who has those qualities and is classified into that Varna. I'll give one classical example of Karna with Parshuram. Parshuram understood Karna's behavior and classified him as Kshatriya, as a Kshatriya. And then, because Karna was saying he was Sut Putra, he was saying his jati, where he thought he was born. But Parshuram treated him as a Kshatriya. Similarly, so Gun and Karma Vibhagasha, Chaturvarnyam, it is the nature of the system. And American textbooks say that Krishna, Bhagavan, created caste system. The word caste is not applicable. Caste is a European narrative. It's a European, Western, American narrative. Okay, and therefore I'm going to talk about the European caste system. So in the Europe there were, so they immediately, five levels of caste system, they immediately put India in all Google. And I think it's the duty of Indian government to put a lawsuit against Google and everybody else who promotes this kind of misinformation, because it is training more religious racial bias against Hindus, specifically targeting Hindus. Why? Because the church and the Islamic organizations were not able to win India for their religion. They are trying hard, but they could not, because therefore they destroyed Brahminical culture. Anyone can become a Brahmana according to Veda. According to Bhagavad Puran, anybody can become a Brahman by their karma and guna. We have seen a classical example of Vishwamitra becoming a Brahman. We have seen that. Vishwamitra Brahman bane. And there are many other case studies also. It's in my books. Pandavas, the famous five, Yudhishthir, Pranav, Dharma, in One Arrow, One Kill. You see many of those answers I've given in detail. That how many Rishi Munis were brought from the unknown parents also, including Narad Muni, an example. Parents were not known, but they were relegated to the highest position. Vyasdev's mother was Satyavati. She was a fisherwoman's daughter. Fisherwoman. She was a fisherwoman. तो मछुआरे की बेटी है वो. और and she is the mother of Vyasdev, Parashar Muni's wife. Parashar Muni is the one who gave the word Bhagwan. He is the one who defined Bhagwan, six qualities of Bhagwan. So there is nowhere in Hindu scriptures. So Indian government and Indian universities have to put a lawsuit on Google and any other place which are promoting this kind of discrimination against Hindus. Because if you are not silent, this is going to become, if you are not vocal about it or taking action right now, it's going to result in a huge genocide against Hindus in the West. And so all the dollars flowing in will go away. It's the beginning of the war, and probably they are partly succeeding also. And so European caste system, you have to understand that European caste system is is two classes: upper class, which is nobility; second is lower class, commoner. It's across Europe. French today, also Spain has a monarch, and the Portuguese have a monarch. Two levels. They still control most of the South America. They call it Latin America. Latin America is a bad word to call South America, because they destroyed all the natives over there who are like us. Natives of South America are like us. They are part of Sanatan Dharma. They worship sun, moon. They have eating habits like us, tortilla and beans. So they're very much like us. Like always call my book also called The Lost Hindus, The Lost Sanatanis. And the native culture is prominent across Bolivia, Chile, some parts of southern Mexico. And those are the people who are completely destroyed by this caste system. So even if you go to those countries and watch the TV shows, you will see a blue-eyed person from Europe, fair complexion, like colorless, I call them, colorless. Those are the gods for them, because that's been told by their education. And they speak the European languages, they speak Spanish or Portuguese or any other languages. So they're completely enslaved. The Europeans were not able to do that against India, against Hindus, because our teachers, which you technically call them Brahmana, protected us. So therefore, the attack against Brahmanas go on, and anybody can become a Brahman. You're following a parampara, following a rule. Very, very basic thing is that the Brahmana has nine qualities, And those nine qualities, samadama, tapa, shaucham, shanti, marjama, vivicha, astikyam, so these are the nine qualities of a Brahman. Anyone who can develop them is called a teacher. Ideally, the teacher should be controlling shama, dama, tapa, shaucham, shantir, arjama, vivicha, astikyam. These are the different qualities that are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, by which Brahmana lives, Brahma Karma Sabhavajam. And anyone who can develop these qualities is technically called a Brahmana. So very few Brahman are there. Very few. And the Brahminical culture, creating caste system, this is all narrative, European narrative. Unfortunately, I don't see very strong voices coming from India and other places to counter this, because lack of education. And if we take literally the words of Bhagavad Gita, this can be easily countered. And it's a responsibility of the Indian government, whosoever is in power. I'm not a political person, I don't understand the politics also, and I'm very clear about it. I see politics from the point of view of Mahabharata. So anybody from the Indian government must actually counter it. And worshipping nature, this is a traditional quality of South American natives, and which is a dharmic quality, Sanatan Dharmi. So now coming to another caste system, which I'm going to show you, and the which is America's caste system, and you'll be shocked to know, and this is done by American authors. So let me just share my screen, and then I'll present you that. Like I said, everything is referenceable. We are not trying to invent anything, and the uh, the we are trying to present facts available publicly and published by major universities. So you can see. So there is a very famous writer. I really love her book, Isabel Wilkerson, and I really thank her for producing and being bold enough to speak about it. Now, this is the caste system, class. So, and I'm not in any way guided by the skin color, even though I call two types of skin color, because the Western narrative says colored media and academic colored people. So, opposite of colored is colorless. So, colorless and colored. These are the two racial classes of America. And believe me, many of the propaganda, European propaganda, proved to the natives of Mexico and North America, natives are the same. Incas, Mayans, and Aztecs are the natives of North America also. Many anthropologists and European researchers won't agree, but I don't agree with European researchers also, because there is not given a chance to the world to talk about European anthropology. So there is no university in India teaches Occidental studies, studying European anthropology and American anthropology. There is no university. Most of the universities cover European subject matters. So Indian university speaking European, this is called colonization of the minds. And the academics of India are totally unfounded and sometimes not original research. They should be studying the anthropology of the Europeans, then they'll find out many facts such as race theory, gene theory. They are there are colonial theories, and which has been backed by the science, which changes like the changing of an underwear nowadays in the Western researchers. So Indian researchers, particularly who are watching this show, or if you're connected to university, you must make an attempt to actually study European anthropology, and there must be departments set up in Indian universities to do that, because no other country will do that. All other countries are already conquered. South America, no hope, because they're completely controlled by the European narratives. Their universities are literally the slaves of European universities, and not possible for them to study, not possible for any African states to study, because they are also completely colonized. 29 of 50 countries in African Union speak English, and I am in the US, so I have to speak English, and that's how I communicate. But I'm in good in Hindi also, and other Indian languages also. So भारत की यूनिवर्सिटीज का रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो यूरोपियन एंथ्रोपोलॉजी को स्टडी करे, रिजल्ट फाइंड आउट करे, इंडिपेंडेंटली करे, because and the private companies have to get involved to fund them. Now, This is the image you're saying, waiting room for colored only. This is a classical American racism. It doesn't exist in American society now. Publicly it doesn't exist, but privately it still exists. Okay, it exists privately, and most of the America has changed, and California is definitely not there. And I also like Californian government, which has actually apologized for their the church atrocities on natives of America, and also the western expansion of United States, where the British origin settlers moved towards the west to settle. So they're called settlers. So there is European Americans, there are Native Americans, there are Asian Americans, and there are African Americans. But the Native Americans are the original Americans. This is waiting room for colored only, and which includes everybody, including Native Americans, because Native Americans have the same skin color as I have. So, and it's a Pulitzer winning journalist, Isabel Wilkerson, must get her book. She's amazing. She says, so she says America has having a caste system, and it says artificial hierarchy that helps determine standing and respect, assumptions of beauty and competence, and even who gets benefit of the doubt and access to resources. So if you're thinking that the blue-eyed person, blonde person, colorless person, or white, you may call them, is more beautiful than any other race, then you're racist actually. And this has been fed into that. If you look at any girl in South America, anyone, they want to marry a person with the blue eyes and fair complexion and colorless complexion, which is a racist attitude, because it has been fed into their brains that person is good. I know so many of my friends who are African Americans who are extremely good, very intelligent, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and extremely good looking and smart, and they are the champions in the baseball leagues and other places. And racial discrimination they all have felt one way or the other in sports, through coaches, through selection mechanisms. And nowadays the new trend has come, Asian Americans. Like anyone who lived in US remembered in 80s that how the Americans worked against Japanese, then Chinese, and now Chinese again, then Asian Americans, and now Hindu Americans is also there. Hindu Americans are being racially biased by the laws. Everything is done by the laws. Everything is done by the laws, by passing a caste discrimination bill and assuming that the caste is belongs to only Hindus, which is totally wrong. I've debunked in my earlier part of this show, which is totally wrong, unfounded by the facts. So Isabel writes, so think about it, all of you think about it. I'll read again. Caste focuses in on the infrastructure of our divisions and rankings, whereas race is a matrix that's used to determine one's place in that. That's why I'd say the genes industry, I live in San Diego, and there is Illumina there doing the fantastic genetic research. But these are all the people furthering for the small economic gains, furthering racial divide. If you go to a chromosome test, chromosomes and me, do there, you will see you are 2% French, 1% Japanese, 1% this. Now, if they are calculate, they're everybody, like a person born in India has never been anywhere else, they'll say, oh, he's 3% Japanese, some Scandinavian blood. Funny, like my 10 generations have not moved out of India, but still if they do a genes test they'll have French there. Why? Because those tests are designed to prove that everybody was European, or prove that Aryan invasion theory was real. That is the basic criteria. And I have no idea why Hindus are falling through it, because Hindus are the only hope for global native community. When you say global south, it's called a global native community. And the Hindus are the only hope. There is no other culture which can protect that. Hindus are the only one which has, I can tell you, India is the only country, because of Hindu culture, stood up for the rights of the blacks, with the browns, with the natives, but they have not stood against the West for any of these topics. And maximum discrimination is coming from the West. We can feel it, we can see it, it's happening now. And but nobody has talked about it. Maybe my video reaches to many people and study, scientifically study, set up departments to study this, because this is the work of the Indian External Affairs Ministry also, to find out these topics and present it out. Now, again, Wilkerson writes, caste focuses in on the infrastructure of our divisions and the rank, and she's talking about the American caste system, and she's a Pulitzer Prize winning author. Whereas race is the matrix determine one's place in that. There is no concept of race in Hindu culture. There is no concept of caste in Hindu culture. But these things are American, European problems should be imposed on, like, well, as Jaishankar said, a very famous dialogue. Europeans' problems are not world's problems. You know, so so exactly this is the, they are still trying to find out their roots. Like they're still trying to prove existence of God. In Vedic culture, very clearly written, Ete cham sakala pumsa Krishnas tu Bhagwan Swayam. Very clearly written over there. Vishnu is Bhagwan. Now here, the 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 concept of caste has been around for thousands of years. It predates the idea of race, which is only 400 to 500 years old, dating back to transatlantic slave trade. Again, European focused narrative. I do not say Isabel is right in every single aspect, but she has presented an American caste system which is existing today. I can tell you, when the Europeans came here in 1908, there was a pact between the Roman Catholic Church and the native. It's in my book, Gold, Glory, and God. You can check out my book over there. And the democracy was instituted when the European settlers became more in number than the settler population. And still, they were not given right to vote. So you can see that that's a history. Is caste is a term which is more precise than race. It is more comprehensive, and it gets at the underlying infrastructure that often we cannot see. But that is an undergirding much of the inequality and injustices despite that we live in this country. She's only talking about America. Class system, like the son of a diplomat or children of diplomat families, higher caste, they have more access, and also it's driven by the money. Like many people think America as a country, I said America is a country of corporations, even though they talk about constitutional republic, but it should be constitutional corporate republic. Is a country of corporations, not a country of citizens, because citizens only donate money to the various parties, and those parties they set up candidates, and whoever wins the more money wins the vote. So there are many books she has written, The Warmth of Other Suns, and she talked about African Americans from the south to the north during the 20th century. Many of the slave trade was promoted from America because it was a new wealth and they could afford it. It was the most lucrative trade. They were brought in from African American, from China, from India. You'll be shocked to know why India, because Indians were the most favored administrative class by the and trading class by the British. So they were brought in. That's how you see many of the Indians in India who were favored by the British were considered higher than the other Indians. That is a European caste system, American caste system. So many see things. So how now being white is an American innovation. Now, just to tell you that according to the latest census and the last census, the I don't believe in the skin color. I'll put again a caveat also. But the census talked about white people as 58.5% of the population. And suddenly the media narrative came in that, oh, we are reducing in number. And which was the media? In America, the media is controlled by the one race, which is the European race, white race, is controlled by the media. More people are turning brown and black, but the media narrative, you'll see only them controlling the whole thing. And only in some other media houses, you can see the management and everything else. I'm not complaining, I'm just presenting some facts, what we see. And white is an American innovation. And then say went back to transatlantic slave trade. Why do people want to become white? Why do people want to become white? Because that gives them positions, that gives them acceptability and accents. See, English is a funny language. English is driven by the accent. So if you have a British accent or an American accent, you're American. But what about the Asian Americans? What about the black African Americans? No, their accent is different. It's a very funny word. Very famous video of a Mexican American woman abusing Indians in Texas. You can see, you are not, go back to your country. Actually, most of these Mexican Americans, when they talk to Indian, some women in Texas, you see that there's no proper reply to them. She apologized, but there was no proper reply. They are the ones who are converted. They are the ones who speak, they think more American than others, and they are the ones who have forgotten Native Americans, and most of them have forgotten their own native cultures also. They're converted. For them, being Western means blue eyes, and believe me, blue eyes is a very rare phenomena. Neither Welsh nor Scottish, many of the Irish people, they don't have blue eyes, because that is again a European caste system. I'm coming there, where if you have blue eyes, you're superior. Like you must have heard fairy tale, the fairy. Who is the whiter? Snow White. Who is whiter than the Snow White? You heard these phrases. Very racist, casteist system. So my and if anyone is watching this show, stop connecting caste to Hindus. Caste is a European problem, American problem, not Hindu problem. Okay, and if you're trying to think that's how you're going to discourage Hindus from practicing their own religion, being ashamed of it, especially I am not, and many people like me are not, because we don't believe in colors. We believe in guna and karma. Your qualities and your nature that you acquired from nature is more important. You can have a assume that you are good looking, but it's a relative term. You can be good looking for your own family, your own community, not for everyone else. Now, Irish, German, Hungarian. Now, if you look at the churches also, Presbyterian, which is Irish, I believe, Lutheran is German, I believe, and there are Episcopal is American, and the Protestant and Catholic, which is mostly Italian. Now, all these different caste systems, one church is different than the other based on the origin of the country. And what about the native cultures? What about the natives of America? They have their own system, but nowhere discussed. You know, they call it, media has come up with the funny names, white guilt, and which I also don't agree, because nobody should be feel guilty, but people should apologize and stop doing these things again. Good for America if they want to create a unified America. America is divided because of American caste system. If you're a Chicago, if you're Italian guy, you're automatically a mafia guy. This American caste system. If you're Polish or Hungarian, and so now let me tell you more things. What she is writing, Isabel Wilkerson is writing that on where people of color who are not black fit into the caste system. Now, so the American and there are petitions in the Supreme Court, petitions in the government for clarity there would where they would fit in, and they were often petitioning to be admitted into the dominant caste. Which was the dominant caste? British was the dominant caste. And still today, English is the language of the United States. And you can see the Hollywood movies, which has been accused of wokeism of late. And you can see that what's happening in there. The movies are being rejected because people are understanding. That's a narrative being said over there. So Japanese immigrant petition to qualify for being Caucasian. What he said? And he said, my skin is actually whiter than many people that I identified as white in America. I should qualify to be Caucasian because Caucasian is a higher caste. And most of the Europeans and Americans won't know Caucasian is north of Iran. And just few thousand years ago, few hundred years ago, it was connected to India intrinsically. Zoroastrian culture is Indian culture. So our invasion theory is totally fake. And I don't say so. The Hindu culture was a predominant culture. So again, they're saying that identified as white in America. This is Japanese immigrants saying. And this petition was rejected by Supreme Court. But these are all examples of long-term uncertainties, she writes, about who fits where when you have a caste system that is bipolar, black and white. Now, when they say black, includes all shades of black, including brown. So we are also included in that, and that was created here. Now, the Wilkerson, she writes Caucasian. So she writes, what is the origin of Caucasian? So it's a German physician in the 18th century obsessed with skulls and the formation of nose, just like that the Riley general. There was a Riley anthropologist. I forgot. He skipped my name. Is an Indian anthropologist, British anthropologist, Herbert Hope Priestley. Sorry, Herbert Hope Priestley created the caste European understanding of caste system in India in 1901 census, done by the British again, imposed European caste system. So what he did was he studied Varna, and you all know, and I know, they don't understand Sanskrit, they don't understand Indian society. For them, all Indians look the same. He studied everybody's length of the nose, breadth of the nose, and said this is upper caste. This is exactly what he did. Anthropologist Herbert Hope Priestley put the word caste in the brains of the Europeans. So he translated the Indian system for Europeans and called it a caste system, because Europeans would understand the caste system. It's like saying, I am bad, but actually you are worse than me. So by proving somebody worse than you, you're proving yourself to be better. This is the exact psychology of the European and today American academics also. Totally wrong. That is European perspective. It has nothing to do with India. It is a commentary on Indian society by Herbert O. Priestley, an anthropologist for Europeans. Nothing to do with India. But the funny thing is, the English language mistranslations, Indians started using the word caste as a translation for Varna. This is the folly of the Indian academics and the Indian government also, successive Indian governments. Like I said, I'm not a political person, either in the US or in India. I believe in just Mahabharata, Ramayana, and do research on that. So we, this is their perspective, not Indian perspective. It has nothing to do with Hindu. And she is very smart. She is the person whom we are talking about. And thank you, Isabel, for producing these kind of books. German physician in the 18th century who had obsession with skulls collected these skulls from all over the world, German narrative, and he identified the most beautiful skulls from his perspective. They have brought in racism, caste system, even in the church also. A Mexican church is separate, the English church is separate, Protestant is separate, Lutheran separate, Episcopal separate, everyone separate, because the caste system working over there. Mormon separate. So, and Caucasus Mountains, and he said they were so beautiful, he decided to identify his skull as Caucasian, talking about himself, German narrative, and to name the group he belonged as Caucasians. This was the group that was the most beautiful and perhaps of all groups of humanity. Excessive racism came from this caste theory of Europeans against Africans and now against Hindus. This should be the biggest task for Ministry of External Affairs of India, to fight as India is growing an economic power, put sanctions on all these countries who discriminate against Hindus on the basis of the word caste. Because see, many other forums I've been invited, Indians, generally Indian Americans don't invite me any of the forum because of insecurity. But I've written in my books. People who read my books will understand what I'm saying. And according to this German scholar, physician, Caucasian, his skull was the most beautiful of humanity because he was German. And therefore, European, so generally, Europeans, they self-certificate. I'm the most beautiful. I'm the most beautiful. And generally, when they go to India, so when they see a very good-looking Indian, generally, they'll say, oh, you look like European. No, I don't look like European. I'm 100% gold standard Indian origin and Indian. So, oh, you look like Mexican. No, I don't look like Mexican. I look Indian. I'm Hindu. Proud to be a Hindu. So this is how we have, this is how they say. and we accept it. Comes in India, fair and lovely creams are said. Brown, black, any color that you got from nature, Mother Nature, is beautiful. Any color you got is your mother, father, whichever color you got on your skin, you're beautiful. Because beauty is by good and karma only. Guna means qualities, and karma means actions. Qualities that you acquire from the Mother Nature, according to Satta, Raja, Tama, three guna. So, this is a German physician, and now, and we all know how racist they were. The entire hatred towards Hitler, and I would like to be corrected there by all of you, and is, according to me, that if you look at the early history of Hitler, he was a Catholic priest. He wanted to be a priest, and his hatred for Jew was against the economic well-being of the Jews. That they were very smarter people. We see their caste system there in German society also. I'll come to the Europeans very quickly. And US used the immigration system as a legal way to maintain the caste system. So many of the earlier immigrants from Europe were not required to produce any paper, just migrate to the free land. Free for who? Professor Kusumlata Kediaji has covered that in detail in my shows about the freedom. Who are free? People running away from churches, running away from oppression, came to the US, no visa needed, just settle here. Just few years back, before 9/11, people used to come, you don't need a visa to any of the European countries. Okay, but visa from India or China or any other country, very difficult. You have to be diseducated, and then you have to come in. But what about the settlers? They encroached on American land. What about the other people who were brought in just to increase their population? All the sick, all the people who ran away from, were not commoners, were not allowed to own land. That means commoners in low caste. European lower castes were not allowed to own land in Europe, so they came to US. Their ancestors only 8 generations old, 8 generations old only. The any American you will see is a 275 years divided by 30, so you can see how many generations can be there. 9 generations maximum. 9 generations. The oldest one I'm saying. Most of the Europeans are 3 or 4 generations only. European Americans, and they all came without any visa, without anything, just came. They're allowed. So that's why she says US immigration. Curating the population, which parts, who fits in where, even today. If part of the Chicago Italian, they filled Italian businesses, fits in everywhere. Many parts of the US, Italian, Russian. Fort Russo is Russian and was your Russian colony before. And discrimination against Hispanic based on the language. It goes on. American caste system. And it's funny that why would anybody want to be like someone else? I would not want to be someone else. I'm happy with what I am, who I am. And but this narrative is the one plays on the minds, everybody's minds. Very important show. People should watch it, share it, and join it. So because we are talking about a books research based work, this is a fantastic research. So why Nazis studied American Jim Crow laws? Because they knew exactly German eugenists were in continuing dialogue with American eugenists. Books by American eugenists were bestseller in Germany in the years coming to Third Reich. And the Nazis need no one to teach them how to hate. But what they did was they sent researchers to study American Jim Crow laws, study Jim Crow laws, and subjugated African Americans, what we consider a subordinated caste. And they actually debated and consulted American law as they were devising the Nuremberg laws, as you're looking at those laws in the United States. None of this research has come into the foreign policy of India and other places, because India and African Union, and I'm very glad African Union is waking up, and African Union is also contesting against African American imposition on Africa. Also, they're doing that. Also, let's facts be told. And you watch any of the African Union videos, you'll see that what I'm saying. And I'm going to invite one of the professors to our channel to discuss those things. And subordinated class was not recognized in the United States in the same way. And the Nazis' reaction to America's one drop rule, which maintained that a person with any amount of black blood would be considered black. Sometimes it's the reality. This is the reality of American caste system. It has nothing to do with India, not to do with Hindu. Again, I'm saying again, and this is the America's caste system. Most of you will be shocked to see this, and and I'm sure people who are going to watch this are going to share it. So now, coming to the caste system of America's untold history. Now, there's another article by her in Guardian. So the American history, the human pyramid, the caste system in the American history is the result of most of the policies. 1965 were Americans allowed to vote, African Americans allowed to vote, even though the law was passed in 1874, 90 years after that, 1965, they were allowed to vote. And every time they would go talk about the Indian Hindu caste system. Caste is a European word, nothing to do with India. Now, coming to Mexican caste system, you'll be shocked to see that, because many times we see, because Mexico is also part of North America. So, and I will talk about Mexican caste system. Now, this is the way how they were colonized. It's in my book also, but I'll just present it for you. And it's done by a American university. So all published data, not a single one. Who is peninsulares in Spanish? Superior people. Look at all the TV shows in Mexico. Peninsulares, Spaniards born in Spain are like godfathers. It was completely white, tall, European. That's a fascination for most Mexican people, because they're colonized by the language. They don't speak their own language. They don't have native language. And I'll commend the Mexican government and their governments, successive governments. Mexico is probably the only country in the world there is no official language. Official means there is a national language, because Spaniards conquered them completely, and it was a fault of the Mexican freedom fighters in 1812. They adopted Spanish as their language. If I was a Mexican leader at that time, I would have completely rejected Spanish language. Let this, like India did, let English go out with the English along with the culture of church, Protestant, go away. But still, because of corrupt Indian governments, the convent schools are still functioning in India, which are not allowed. They are colonial powers, colonials. They destroy, they have no respect for Hindu culture, they have nothing. They're colonial. Like Indian constitution still says Anglo Indians. Why Anglo Indians? So it is Creoles will be called Anglo Indians. If I want to convert into an Indian thing, Creoles will be called Anglo Indians. Why the Constitution of India has protection for them? The question which Indian citizens should ask. I cannot ask those questions, but I can ask Indians to ask the questions. Now, Creoles, white Spaniards born in Mexico. Mestizo, child of a Spaniard man and a Indio woman. Indio means native woman. Natives of Mexico men, native men of Mexico were not allowed initially, because some of you may forget it. Initially, Mexico men were not allowed to, Indio men, not allowed to marry a white Spanish woman. Look at the TV serials over there. Look at TV serials. I'm watching one of them right now, and it just appalls me and just confirms my theory that how the colonial impact is so strong in Mexico today. And some of them with the blue eyes and the colorless skin color is like they are considered superior, because just grown through the education. Pardos, a child with a Spanish, Indio, and African blood, because African Americans or Africans were also brought in as slaves. by the Europeans to serve in Mexico. That's called Pardos. Indios. Indios is native Mexican, Amerindian. Now, Indios, believe me, the culture of natives of Mexico and the natives, culture I'm saying, not language, culture and behavior and looks are the same from Mexico to Canada. It's the same because it was a native land. Native Americans were closely, in fact, in 1846, most of the west coast of America became under the British control and British and German control to some extent, because there was significant German migration also. So 1846, as recent as 1846. 1776 were the 13 colonies in Northeast America that declared independence. But the American integration completed in by 1846, and there was a war also. So Pardos is the child with Spanish, Indio, and African blood. Indios is native Mexican. Mulattoes, child of an Indio and African, is mulatto. All these racist words still being used. Casteist word. These are caste system of Mexico. Zambos. So if any Mexican American says you have a caste system, or Mexican says, read it out. Peninsulares, Creoles, Mestizo, Pardos, Indios, Mulattoes, just based on mixing. And significantly, economic hardships are also there. The discrimination is significant if you go there. I've traveled and I know what it is. Zambos, child of a Spaniard and African. That's Zambos. Like a zombie, literally like a zombie. Okay? So zombie itself is a racist word. It's a very casteist word. But it's biblical casteism. Anyway, African slaves were also there. These are the different categories of caste system in Mexico. Now, can you believe? India is a far more better society today than before because there are great thinkers in India who corrected, and especially Sampradaya. In any Sampradaya you go, there is no discrimination. You can join any Sampradaya, and they have protected the Hinduness of Indian society. And even though there are a lot of Islamic attacks still going on in the name of freedom and constitution, and but continuing all for the destruction, every single action of church and there have been done to destroy the Hindu population or convert them. That is destroying also. Converting is destroying because you give money to convert, which is destruction, different kind of destruction. Now let me come to the another one. Does it shock you, all of you, those of you who are watching? Does it shock you? Because what is going on is so, the reality is always hits actually, always. Now coming to Brazilian caste system. So Brazil also has a caste system. And I'm only talking about America, North America and South America. Portuguese. Portuguese were the worst of colonizers. If you go to any Brazil you go, the museums won't show you any history of Brazil. Their museums won't show up what is the Brazilian native history. They won't show. They only glorify the Brazilian Portuguese conquerors. So Portuguese king is the founder of Brazilian society, literally. And so much discrimination is going on in the Amazon forest, even now with the current government in Brazil, because of the Brazilian caste system. And there's a whole story that Congolese, there are a lot of Africans over there. Half of the citizens of Brazil are of African ancestry. And it's a Portuguese colony, 12 million Africans kidnapped and sent to Americas for chattel enslavement. And it was the last country in Americas to abolish the practice in 1888. Actually, they abolished 1888, but actually continued till 1982, 100 years later, okay, almost 100 years. And to whiten the population, again, the same European thing. Argentina wiped out the native population completely. And this should be verified by the viewers. Check it out. Argentina, Bolivia, and how many attacks are done. Uruguay, these are the countries where the war against the native, considered a lower caste, is still continuing, still going on. It's a very shocking information, but it's going on. People who are watching, they must make survey. So Rio de Janeiro had the highest number of Afro-Brazilians killed by the security agents, with one person killed by the police every 4 hours. And Brazil has the highest incarcerated population in the world, behind China and the US, to whiten the population, to make it more obedient to the church. And we come from a country, now this is Jessica Rosa, a graduate student and English teacher in Campinas, said, we come from a country that kills children inside their homes, right? So of course we don't live in a racial democracy. That is the purpose of democracy. Lokatantra is not democracy. Lokatantra democracy nahi hota. Mistranslation. Okay. So African father, European mother. So very hierarchical, stratified social structure. I have to yet see a Brazilian president who is purely looking like Brazilian native. Not seen that yet. Because they won't let it happen. Caste system. A racial caste system that combines slavery plus the autocratic social structure that Brazil inherited from Portugal. It's so much sadness I'm saying this. This is going on. Kendall Thomas, a professor of comparative constitutional law and human rights at Columbia Law School. My problem with the American professors and American academics is that they write about the whole world except America. They should first focus on the race problems in America, caste problems of America, not Hindus, America. European caste system. Is caste belongs to Europe, not to India, not to Hindus. Now, lot of things. Racism and casteism is an organizing element in social ills in Brazil. It's still going on, not going left off, not go, still going on. Samba schools, these are Afro-Brazilian freedom, where they have the right to dream, live, said Rogero. So, Afro descendants in federal universities. But what about the native descendants? What about the natives of Brazil? Nothing. Okay. And their version of history is Portuguese history. Portuguese is the grandfathers. Go to the museums there. You'll be shocked to see what they show in the museums. Totally irrelevant museums. Brazilian museums, irrelevant museums. You cannot learn anything over there. Now coming to the the last part, Mexico, European, Brazil, we have covered, and America's caste system we have covered. So my question to all of you is, why why only Hindus are targeted? Why? Why only Hindus are targeted? Because we have not we have not countered this fake narrative through education. Probably this is the first show we are talking about the caste system from the European and American perspective in Sattology. We have not covered it anywhere else. I've not seen any YouTube video on that. So I would like to thank all our members who are members and subscribers who are part of our shows, who are actually helping us produce a lot of content and also help Sattology in the long run. Do join our courses, 12x debunking mythology courses, so completely decolonize your mind, because Bhagavad Gita decolonizes your mind. And and the same thing is happening in India. The entire Manipur problem, other problems, are all because of this fake European American caste narrative. That's how they shame Hindus. Oh, you have a caste system because they have a caste system. So caste system exists in Europe, in America. Nothing to do with Hindus, but they shame Hindus on that. That's the only challenge. Like if any European settler will meet India, say, oh, do you have a caste system? And I say, what do you mean by caste? It's a European word, nothing to do with us. Because that has been fed in them. Hindus have a caste system. to show that the church is better than Hindus. Only 30% of European settlers go to church today. Yoga is the new religion of America, and better they should accept it, because otherwise, Prakriti, nature is going to force them. So I'll take questions now. Anyone has any questions, you can ask me. And so thank you all for joining in big numbers. Thank you very much, Neil Chauhanji. I'll call out everybody's name, especially those who are members. And but I'll call everybody's name. Saroj Pradhan, thank you. Badri Kesar, thank you. And this question is Badrika, clergy, nobility, peasants. No, nobility and peasants. Actually, clergy is an employee of nobility, so they're all together. Clergy is an upper caste in Europe. Uh, okay, Jai Hind, Vande Matram, Jai Sanatan Dharm, Om Om Om. Is this recorded? Yes, it was recorded. It's live, available on our show. Yes, and this is completely shocked, speechless. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I'm covering everybody's comments. If you have any questions, you can ask me, because I would like to see. Pro marketer asks, please do declare a real name, because I want to. I Anyway, I'll read that. If you're pure internally, the mind will reflect attractive face. Is this correct? Understand one thing. Ved Vyas was physically not good looking, according to Mahabharata description. But for us, he's the most worshipped person. Like without Ved Vyas, we have no identity. So beauty is through the ideas, beauty is through karma and guna. So one of the most beneficial personalities. So looks are deceiving, and you can see the example all the time. People may happen to have good looks outside, but that is relative, right? A good look for you may not be good look for somebody else, right? So it depends. It depends. So physical looks are of no consequence. We got to go by the actions, not even heart, because I have not seen the heart. I've not seen the mind. I've not seen the intelligence. That doesn't mean that person is heartless, mindless, intelligenceless. We have to see by the karma and guna. That's how you know the person is good or not. Okay. Why Europeans killing the world? Because of European caste system. They hate Hindus also. All of them. They learn Hindi to convert more Hindus. That's what they do. So, and America is a combination of Hippocratic people. That's true. Mostly Europeans, mostly Germans and Finnish and all these things. For them, America is a new cash cow. That is true even today also. No, 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 no. Bhagwan Krishna has a black eyes, but blue eyes. Many devtas have blue eyes. Many devtas have beautiful eyes. So blue, green, black, gray. But if karma is bad, what to do with the blue eyes? You can have the most beautiful polar bear. Polar bear is white and beautiful, but dangerous. Don't go near them. And then no, can bring worship nature only. North Korea can bring peace on this earth. I don't know about that. Anyway, please ask some serious questions so it can this thing. You're right, Anna. Marriage, vivah, caste, one religion, dharma, ek nahi. Correct. Then namaskaram, Alfonso. Thank you, Adolfo. Adolfo, you have been always been a supporter for us. Thank you very much. Jai Hindu Rashtra. Mostly the very rich elite of the world are ones pushing division and discord between people. That's right. It's all political. And caste word is a political narrative. You have to understand. It is a political narrative to shame Hindus. And I've shown today Mexico has a caste system, Brazil has a caste system, US has a caste system, and all promoted by church. And church may disagree with me, but anyway, I church is not a place for us in any way. So huge people Christianized by this thing. That is true. That is very sad. Uh, And then Sumit Lime, welcome, pro marketer. Sunil Dutt Limaye, thank you very much for joining. Sunil Dutt, Vinay, Bhagavad Gita talks about kul. Kul just means family. Kula dharma means family culture, family duties. Okay, so no. This is not. Jati just means a the a person where he has taken birth due to his previous karma, previous life karma. So he is born in a particular family, particular species of humans. That is jati. It's a technical word, and caste is not nothing to do with jati. Caste is a political social narrative imposed to prove someone is superior. Has nothing, no connection with varna or jati. Now, in rural India, caste is divisive. So that's what you all must preach over there. That's why the show is you go there and educate everybody, join Sattology courses, and speak to them about it. Learn properly. First, you learn your Shastra, then you talk. And then Abrahamic divides into Indian Constitution. I have a copy of Indian Constitution, and you'll see a lot of me posting posts on Instagram. Do follow my me on Instagram at Aditya Satsangi, and I'll present it from the American Constitution, Cherokee Constitution, and an Indian Constitution. So Indian Constitution is was made at a time where it was uh, defending the rights of many people. Very good constitution. Indian constitution has protected the natives of India, which are Hindus, and Indian constitution also has provisions to protect everyone else. But at the same time, Indian constitution is being misused, or there are certain provisions for discriminatory against the majority of India, Hindus particularly, and that was done by the church, Congress party, and Islamic groups funded. That funding has stopped now. Is going to stop also. So Avadi talks. Is it so that वर्ण में हमारा जन्म हुआ है वो हमारा वर्ण होता है या फिर कर्म और क्वालिटी भी इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं वर्ण is decided based on qualities and guna karma vibhagasha. So vर्ण has nothing to do with the birth. So social hierarchy is built on qualities and karma actions. And understand one thing: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are all equal. They're parts of the body. You cannot say that your legs are less important than your head. You cannot say that. Legs are needed for the body to function. So I'm on top of the hour. I usually like to stay control. Is 1 hour 8 minutes now. And I hope you like the show. Do like, share, subscribe, let people know about it. Do join our programs, our Lit Fest, and also join our courses to learn Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata in a proper way, and also Yoga Sutra. So if you're in USA, do join me in San Diego for the Lit Fest. And I really thank all the members of our channel who are helping us produce more. So become a member when you can on Patreon or on our YouTube channel. So it says, very good question. I'll take. If a person Vaishya becomes Kshatriya, what about the Kul? Kul still remains the same. Kul Deta also remains the same. You're choosing one profession. Varna is like almost like a profession. So you change your job, doesn't change your Kul. Kul is still the same. Okay. So Kul doesn't change, Kul Deta doesn't change. I answered this question before. Kshatriya can become a Brahman, Brahman can become Kshatriya. Kul doesn't change. From the same mother and father, the four children, one can be belonging to one Varna. Varna just means category. That's called Varna Mala. One category, second category, third category, fourth category. Doesn't mean caste at all. It's not fixed. You can move. Mobility is allowed. So मैं यहीं पे रोकता हूँ. Jai Jagannath, and thank you all for joining, and also thank you for coming on the show. And uh, blood has no role. Blood has no role. Blood is again a racist concept. Blood has no rule. It's a Islamic, Abrahamic, racist concept, casteist concept. It's the पिता का वीर्य उसको ब्लड लाइन नहीं बोला जाता, वो अंग्रेजों में है, परंपरा, पिता माता. So thank you all very much, and we'll cover that in detail some other time. And do join our shows. Let us know your feedback. So with that, we'll end the show and we'll